Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today. And we'll be talking about sacred rites. And right, let me screen share. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. So, utilizing plant allies to charge or change space. So, this is involving the burning, vaporizing, or atomizing of sacred herbs. So, we'll be covering a few different methods of how you can make that incense, essentially, and using it to set the space, aid in ritual, or to amplify an intention. So, the first one we're covering are smoke sticks. So, has anyone created a smoke stick before, or is this new for everyone? I can't see the chat box, so Steph, I'll need you to yay or nay me. But great. So if you haven't, it's probably one of the most easy forms to use. And so as I've said here, all you'll need is your choice of herbs or plants, some twine and some scissors. And this would be your end result, ideally. As you can see, this one's already been burnt slightly. So what you do is you gather your chosen herbs or plants. At this point, they're all fresh, and then sort of lay them out nicely so that you can have, so when you bundle them, that the more fragile ones will end up in the center and that they're protected by the other larger plants, more robust ones on the outside. Gather them up, and then you would first just tie a basic sort of knot around the bottom just to keep it all together. But then what I like to do is go over this bit for quite a while so you can create like a little handle for yourself. This one I didn't make. I would usually go a lot bigger than this and use a lot thicker twine just to really, extra protection and so on. So then that becomes your little handle. And then once you've got that, you can either plait it or braid it or strap it around to the end, sort of get it tied up there and then weave it back down again through the bottom. This is a lot easier to do when the herbs are fresh. When they're dry and brittled like this, you are asking for a headache. So yeah, so you make it all when it's fresh and then you leave it in a cool, dark place for it to dry out. And then once it's dry, you can start using your smoke stick. And the reason why cold, dark place rather than in the sunshine, because I know a lot of, common sort of perception is leave it in the sun to dry out, but that sort of dehydrates it too much and takes a bit of the sap and the juiciness out of it. Where, yeah, cool, dark place is more sort of preserved, slow drying. Great. So yeah, so that covers that one pretty much. Ideally, yeah, you want a good size plant matter to work with, so 15 to 20 centimeters, because when they do dry, obviously everything does shrink a bit as well. You have to keep all of that in mind. And as I mentioned later on, like I do go through some herbs, some recipes. But at the end of the day, this whole journey is about also finding, creating your own, finding your plant allies and herbs that you want to work with, and what's going to be unique and special for you to make. So the next method we're going to go through are incense cones. So I know this is probably a more rare one for people to have made before because it's a little bit more complex and can end up being a little bit more spinny. So what you need for this is, again, your chosen herbs, resins, whatever you put together that you intend for this creation. Ideally a pestle and mortar, so you can brush the hell out of it. And some distilled purified water. And then here I've listed mako powder, which is the key ingredient in incense. It's the most sort of common one that's in there because it's what helps it ignite and it's a great binder, but it is quite expensive. And I think I was looking today and yeah, I think some of the cheapest bags I saw were maybe like £30. So very stretched, but like use a little bit and it goes a long way. So I mean, if you're looking to get into an incense business making, then maybe invest in your macro powder. But I have listed some alternatives that you can use here. So chocolate powder also works amazing, cedar powder or sandalwood powder, but I would recommend the charcoal over the other two because then you're also bringing those two scents and their properties into whatever it is you're making. So if that's not what you want, then and you want to keep to whatever herbs you've chosen specifically for that incense cone, then I would say to maybe go with the charcoal rather. So here we've also got in detail how to make it. You gather all your herbs and resins, just put it in the pestle and mortar, crush it. You want it as fine, 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 fine as possible. And then we're mixing in some of the either the macro or charcoal powder with some water until you've got like a good thick, gloopy substance that you can sort of just shape with your hands into a cone. I know there are some like incense cone molds and things out there, but it's just more fun doing it with your hands as well, and like really just making contact, like really just being there. Um, and yeah, for this one, again, you need a heat-resistant bowl and something you can burn it in. That's going to be okay to do so. And if you don't, you could use other kinds of bowls, but fill the base with sand so that the heat doesn't sort of permeate through and crack it. And here we've got the ratio as well. So that ratio with the macro powder applies the same with charcoal, cedar, or sandalwood if you're going to replace that. So the next one we've got is an aura spray. So this one is, I mean, I'm sure most of you are familiar with aura sprays as well. They've also got lots of different names. I just like to call it aura spray. So what you need for this, I said amber bottle, but you can also use a blue bottle or a green bottle, atomizer bottle of any size. Your chosen is this one. We can bring essential oils into it as well, or you can again just stick to herbs and resins, some distilled water, and then the three sort of pick and choose here is witch hazel, vodka, or vegetable glycerin. So the vodka, I just say cheap vodka is like your ethanol sort of alcohol base. If you want to go that way, otherwise witch hazel is amazing and the vegetable glycerin is amazing. And that also, which one you choose, I would say, because this one is very diverse, so you can use it for your space, but depending on the other ingredients you've used, I've mentioned further down, you can also use it as a face mist. So you can use it as part of your sort of skincare routine or as like a refreshener in the summer as well, if you've got more sort of skin friendly and safe ingredients in there to spray directly on you. But otherwise, yeah, just for the atmosphere. So if you're going skin directly, I would always say witch hazel is our friendliest ally in that group. And then I said your optional small crystals that you can put at the bottom of the bottle. So yeah, essentially here we go. This is the main sort of recipe of that you'll follow in terms of how much of each thing to add. But then I've listed underneath here. So if you're going to use plants, get them and the crystals in before, sort of just like filter them down into your bottle. And when you add your liquids in this one, only gently sort of turn it, because you don't want like any hard plant matter to break up too much. If you shake it really hard, that could maybe get clogged inside the spray, or just end up, creating chaos inside. But if you are just using essential oils and just crystals and there isn't any plant matter, then shake like crazy, then go wild. Especially with essential oils, you do need to get that to like mix well through. But yeah, if you're using actual physical plant, just be very, very gentle with it. And yes, so ingredients like rose or lavender, if you're just going really basic with it, amazing, great for, a summer spritz and great as a sort of toner in your skincare routine as well if you want. So this is also aura sprays as a use of changing and charging space. is a great alternative for people who don't do well with smoke, who or have maybe a sensitive nose or throat or just respiratory system in general, or any other allergies. Just, yeah, if you just don't do well with smoke, or maybe you live in a space where you're not allowed to. I know there are a lot of places that prohibit burning incense if you're renting um, incense or candles, which, yeah, quite wild, but I guess, fires are a thing. Um, but yeah, so this is a great alternative if you can't do any of that. And also for, I found, so maybe for on the go, if you make it in a lot more of a smaller bottle, and you can sort of take it traveling with you, and it looks a lot less suspicious if you're going through airports or things like that. And you can just, just give yourself a little spritz wherever you are to sort of, yeah, take your magic with you. So the last one we're going to cover, this is this is also sort of like a two-in-one. So the cleansing bowl can be done with smoke or with water. So in this one, you'd use a heat-proof bowl again. You'll go small if you're using charcoal for the heat, or large if you're going to go with boiling water. And the premise here as well is essentially everything's happening in the bowl. So if you're going charcoal, you'd be filling up the base with some sand. You light up your charcoal disc and just place it in the center and slowly sprinkle the herbs across the top to smoke out. Or if you're using water, place everything first, because you do not want to put the boiling water in and then start throwing things that are just going to cause splash and crazy and nightmares and burns. So first, place everything you want inside the bowl, your crystals, your plants, and so on. Set your intention, then add the hot water slowly over it, and then let the vapors sort of rise, and that's your sacred smoke in that space. So I've also listed both the ways to do that here. Right, I think I'm just going to pause the presentation really quickly, so as I think I can see some questions, but 1 second. I wonder if I can see these questions on here. For all the slides be saved and saved? Yes. So this is the workbook that I've been making, but there are some pages that I'm missing that I want to add in, which is when I start to cover the actual herbs. And yes, so those ones I still want to add in, so I'll share the full one with everyone. But if you want, I can also share the shortened version today as well. I'm just going to stop the share real quick, and then we can do some questions before we go on to herbs. Does anyone have any questions about the 4 sort of methods that we've covered? Nope. Okay. Good then. Great stuff. So, righty. So I've got a list. I had quite a long list of herbs, but yeah, I some of them didn't all come through, but yes, I'll update them. So what I've tried to do here is the top, so sort of top section is like your magical attributions of the plant, then its medicinal properties, and then its elemental sort of affiliation. And so before we go into this, when you're creating your own incense or spell or ritual or whatever, and you want to put something together, the main things that I'd encourage you to look at is if you want, so again, looking at magical properties, how these things combine, which plants work together, which ones have the same properties that you can then amplify, when bringing them together. If you have a few different plant allies that all aid in calm or sleep, and then put those together for something around that, or love, or banishment, or so on. And then the same if we're once we start treating other things and you go into, the herbal world, what else you're looking for, what those properties are, the antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial, antiseptic, um, and so on. And then if you go into like a lot deeper sort of spell casting and you use elements, whether you want to combine all of them and create something balanced or something focused. And again, you just want elemental plants together, maybe on something that's just very heavily air focused. Um, so yeah, so these little bits that I've added at the top are just to help you sort of see which plants can work together, what their sort of main, bits are about them. And then just going into the herb itself as well. So lavender, I mean, is just one of the most like aromatic and incredible, versatile and easily accessible herbs that we have, um, and works amazing in incenses because it is so potent. Um, the next one that I've got here is rosemary. Rosemary, amazing, amazing, amazing witch's herb. So cleansing, protection, love, and dream work. And then in these little bits, so um, I don't know how much you know about uses of herbs across the world. Also, then varies into like, I didn't want to get too deep into that because obviously each, like as you cover the map, a lot of different sort of sub spiritualities or religions also have their own meaning and definition of it, but I try to keep this as very look at that, but hold on to more sort of the English so that we can just veer away from any kind of cultural appropriation whatsoever. Um, but yeah, just very interesting in so here obviously it's known here and in America, I'd say the most common is, keep rosemary at your door to ward off evil, like keep it, by, the front step of your house. But then in Portugal, it's dedicated to the fairies and seen as like this ultra happy fairy plant. And then in Spain, as a hardcore to like ward off the evil eye, and you put it in water and like splash it all over the walls to keep that away. Um, but yeah, rosemary, incredible, and it's amazing for dream work. So I've got a little a bit in the bottom here that I'll add for all the others as well. So prophetic dream work, this I would suggest in a circle of three. So three women together, using it at the same time, whether it's ingesting it, creating the incense, but yeah, for prophetic dream work, sort of ultimate outcome, I would say a group of three for that, definitely. It's also great to use, so when you're creating your sort of incense intentions to keep, so these are the sort of things to maybe keep in mind: to gain authority, for friendship, for remembrance, against nightmares, for women, for protection, and for prophecy. I'm just going to stop the share again real quickly. We get 3 new messages. Your hubby doesn't like incense smoke. Yeah, a lot of people have severe sort of reactions to them as well. Um, and my friend's ex-husband as well, we could light an incense stick in one room and he'd be sneezing already like 2 floors up in the house and freaking out and going, what on earth is like, what's happening? So yes, I'm aware that a lot of people have allergies to this, and that's why I really wanted to bring in the water component of these. So I just wanted to double check how much of my other bits have gone here. Um, so I wonder. So I'm going to try to dual wield screens because all my information is missing. 1 minute. If anyone has any questions now, we can also take this moment for some reflection. So No questions. Great. What is the ratio for water? In which one? In the spray or in the? Yeah, yeah, that would also change with each herb, I suppose, as well, definitely. But yeah, in general, a lot more. Oh, in the bowl. In the bowl, you would just, I say, splash safe level. So until everything's submerged and you are not at risk of when you move it that you are going to scorch yourself in any way if you do move it. But as long as everything's sort of submerged, yeah, that's great. So let's have a looky. Okay. So our first other friend we got is mugwort. So her other name is black sage. Has anyone worked with mugwort before? So this is a herb that if most of you have attended the workshop that I did on herbal infusions, this is one that I wouldn't necessarily like usually recommend people ingest because it's very, very potent. But as an incense, a lot safer to utilize, and then you can also utilize its wonderful magical properties, which has a lot to do with, divine connection, also dream work, consciousness, protection, endurance. Um, and it is known as the traveler's friend. It promotes well-being, endurance, and protection. As I said, it encourages dreams and vision, and is a herb of complete introspection. Um, it's always good for sort of bedtime and burning. Yeah, I've used sort of mugwort sprays on my pillow or oils on my pulse points, or maybe burnt it just a little bit just before going to bed if I was intending to maybe try to lucid dream or do some prophetic dream work. So I'm trying to see if I can see this chart. Make a note of by supplies. Yes, so I'll update the workbook with the supplies list as well. And then what else have I missed here? Where do you normally buy the herbs from? Okay, great. Well, I'll add a supply list for everything then, for all of them, for the herbs, for the bits. Yeah, great stuff. We'll stop the sharing again. Let's see where we're at. So next buddy we've got is, sorry, I might have to go in and out just while I suss what my pages are. Our next friend is eucalyptus. I am absolutely obsessed with this amazing plant. Again, cleansing, healing, protection, clarity of mind and body. It's a real opener, great mother eucalypt, and is again an amazing one to use for any sort of incense purposes. So one of like the best birthday gifts I actually ever got, that, and I haven't let go of it. It's now still in my bathroom, but now being used as decoration. Was they sell now sort of in, I suppose this was a plant box, just a full whack of eucalyptus that you hang, so it's already bunched, and then you hang it over your shower, and the water sort of runs through it, and the steam. So you're, yeah, basically having a eucalyptus steam incense experience while you're showering, and eventually when the leaves start getting too wet, they can start getting a bit black. So that's when you take it out, and I've just dried it up and it's hanging as decoration. But eucalyptus, again, amazing just as it is, and it works wonders with both water and burning. So its other properties, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows it's native to Australia. I'm also not Australian, in case that question comes up. It happens a lot now. I'm not. I'm South African. Um, but yeah, and it's used by a lot of their herbal healers as well. Traditionally for decongestions, muscle relief, cleaning. Again, this one as a spatial cleanser, just magnificent. and to really sort of alleviate like the energy body, which again is why I think it always works so well in the shower and so on, because sort of, maybe like first thing in the morning to just really invigorate and clear everything up. Okay. Want to be aware and conscious of time. Okay, we are good. And I think before I go too much into the other ones, just to be conscious, because everyone will get the full. I mean, I've got about 15, 16 herbs in here. Oh, I don't have the pictures of those ones. Okay, I'm just gonna erase that for a second. Right, so I don't have the pictures of these ones ready, but I will discuss them with you in detail. So the two herbs that we look at, that one of the main focuses to move away from, or the main herb to move away from, is white sage. And because, yeah, it's been completely over harvested and it is now, a protected resource. So two good alternatives for this in the sage world is desert sage and blue sage. So this one is actually that I showed you. This is actually desert sage. And blue sage looks similar, but with a lot more sort of black flecks once it's dried inside the leaves. And they are also a lot more affordable and grow immensely. So again, there's no sort of harm in using those two types of sage. And the one that I would say is closer to white sage in its compounds and sort of magical properties and purpose would be desert sage. That one's a lot more sort of protection, purification, positivity, mental clarity and healing. It's got a lot more sort of a warm herbaceous aroma as well. And let's see, it was also used traditionally to sort of just ward off bad feelings in general or bad influences in general, and to relieve headaches and anxiety. And then the blue sage is more sort of like soothing, healing, cleansing energy for your space. And it's named because of it has like these big blue flowers. It almost kind of looks like lavender, but it's, yeah, they're more blue. They're like a purple blue, but more in the desert, like a lavender in the desert, if you can imagine that. Well, I'll add the pictures in the workbook so everyone can see what they look like. And it's also got lots of thin leaves. And yeah, again, relative of white sage, but a lot better to use in this day and age at the moment. So I'm wondering if I should go into the other herbs or if I should just wait until I've like packed and everyone can just sort of read that through themselves. Um, but for now, I will just show you the last little bits of the presentation before we go back. So here I've added just some basic recipes. I mean, these aren't, again, there are multiple recipes for all of these things as well. This isn't like the only way you can do it, but just as a starter, and to give you some ideas, yeah, here are some basic recipes. These are more sort of intentional based, with what you want to do with that space. And the bottom ones are sort of more celebration based. So for, yeah, certain times of the year, and combining all of these things. And again, most of these can then be utilized in either in any of those methods, any of those 4 methods that I've mentioned before. It'll obviously just depend. If you're going incense cone, you need to try and really work with herbs that you can grind down to a fine, fine, fine powder. Otherwise, the burn is going to be really strange. But everything else pretty much is quite open. And especially if you're using the cleansing bowl and a charcoal disc, you can also go fairly large with your bits. It doesn't have to be super tiny, because it'll have like quite a wider surface space to work with. And then I've just added my gratitude notes here, but then I'll add the retailers list afterwards with all the links to all the bits that you can get. And I'm just going to run through some of the other herbs quickly. Sorry. Technology is just all over the shop today. Okay. Okay, before I continue, has that been clear for everyone so far? Amazing. Lovely. Okay. So now I'm just going to talk about some other herbs and plants that you can use in these settings. And of course, as I mentioned, the same way that I showed you the rosemary and the lavender, I'll be creating those pages for all of these plants, for the blue sage, the desert sage as well, for mugwort. And then I've listed there as well Palo Santo, which um, is another one that's sort of leaning on the endangered side, but I would just say, again, looking at sources just to make sure it's not young foul trees, and yeah, where that it's from a respectable source. But again, I'll try to list as much. Yeah, the one for grief is pretty potent. So yeah, so Palo Santo, again, an amazing. I mean, it's called holy wood and great for healing, stress relief, raising your vibrational energy. It promotes creativity. Um, has everyone worked with it here? I mean, I feel like this is one of the more common ones. Yeah, okay, great. So, and even when you're using with other bits, so because Palo Santo is so potent, if you're using it in combination with any of the others, so to make a stick or a blend of some kind, use it very minimally. Otherwise, it will overpower everything else. I would say that with woods, with resins, to be a lot more, so more plant to wood and resin, basically. I've gone through eucalyptus, sweetgrass is another one I've listed. Protection, love, kindness, and honesty. It's also very fragrant. Oh, I love it. I think sweetgrass and lemongrass are two of some of my favorite. Just when I smell it, it just changes everything. Um, and this one's also, I would say, if you're trying to reach out to spirits in particular, if there's anyone, yeah, anyone that you've lost, or I would say deity, reaching out to deities, but more specifically someone that's personally connected to you, a personal connection that you've lost. Burning that is a really beautiful opening, and sort of sets the space in a safe way for both of you, for both you and spirit. Another one we've got in there that's used quite a lot in combination with other herbs and plants in making incense, bay leaves, which is again one of the richest potent um, herbal allies. It's like great in the kitchen, great in burning, great in your spells and magic. And again, I think also quite British to use bay leaves in for these purposes. And that's why they are connected to sort of psychic power, divination, abundance, healing, and yeah. So, and they're also great for reducing inflammation, boosting the immune system. If you look at all of those properties of them as well. Um, but yeah, in general, just an ultimate. If you're burning it, the smell brings sort of calming but potentness, uh, like Has anyone had those trip drinks, which is like CBD but combined with ginseng? And so you're supposed to get all the energy, but it takes off the edge. And like I feel like Bailey is a kind of like that in the magical world, in my in my weird connection of things. Um, what other ones? Rose. We will also Rose is in the list. Love, compassion, open heart healing. Again, associated with all things, with universal love, with self-love, with familiar love, all things sort of soft, um, sensual, um, beautiful, um, self-love, caring. Yeah, rose, I mean, again, is another potent scent to work with in things. In the water-based, in the atomizers, they work incredibly well, but I wouldn't say you would smell them too strongly in the cleansing bowl with the hot water. You'd have to use quite a fair amount. I would say probably more dried rose leaves there than fresh ones. Calendula we'll go into as well. Abundance, healing, creativity, emotional stability, positivity. And again, it's color, like it brings the light and the joy to a bundle as well. If you're making a smoke stick, or even if you've got like a cleansing bowl that you get, like it just the bright yellow just already changes the whole tune of whatever you're about to do. Um, and it's great for, again, protective energy, dispelling negative energy, but just drawing in abundance and joy. And this one's more about focusing on vitality rather than pushing or banishing anything away necessarily. Whereas a lot of the other more potent ones have a big pull and push effect. Calendula's just a warm hug, like a soft, loving, joyous friend to have in for emotional stability, yeah, in your combo. And we've got cinnamon again, um, amazingly potent in incenses. And so again, you'd have to really, in a stick, you could use you could put a whole incense stick in there. But if you're making incenses with anything else or burning it over the coals, or making the incense cones, I would suggest to get it ground down as finely as possible, or just get ground ginger to start with. But there is something really sort of fulfilling about going through that whole process yourself, about sort of really turning down um, the resources that you're using into that fine powder. You're putting all of your energy into it as well, and your intention into each of those actions as well. So yeah, cinnamon, energizing, motivational, healing, um, and then thyme. Sorry, I'm just aware of, oh my gosh, we've got 15 minutes left. Okay, got this. So thyme, releasing ceremonies, courage, protection, clarity of mind. Um, I don't, I do, does everyone cook a lot of the time? Yeah. So personally, I love to, if I want in like a really hearty sort of soup stew, just handfuls of twigs of thyme in there, because it really does, it's like, yeah, that hearty, almost then it makes it taste meaty, and it's the same with its energy and dispersion when you're using it as an incense. Um, it's just that real sort of hearty courage, protection, it's like just to make you sort of more sure about you're more solid in yourself. um what did I want to add here? Yeah, helps with mind blocks, with negative feelings. So again, just like sort of self-assertion completely. The Romans used to bathe in it before going into battle. And the Greeks used to burn it in rooms to drive away diseases. Not that I think that worked, but it just clearly made everyone a lot more positive. So maybe they believed that diseases were gone. So Then we've got frankincense. I've tried to put in a bit of resins as well. So frankincense reduces stress, eases tension, clears negativity, enhances divine connection. Again, another sort of very religiously used and sacred resin that across cultures has been renowned for many, many, many years. And again, it comes from a tree. So in the on the pages, I've got, I might have that one open for you. Have a look. Because I've got a picture of then the trees. So all the herbs that come from trees, I've got the picture of the tree there for you, so you can see what it looks like before it's reduced to resin. So yeah, we've got frankincense over here. Let me show you real quick. So this is what the frankincense tree looks like. Where are we? There we go. Can you see? Am I sharing? You see now? Yeah. Okay. There's the tree. There's the tree there. Grows quite high up in the mountains as well. And then this is what the resin looks like. So again, this is what you'd be crushing down a lot. So if you're going to make an incense cone, for example, obviously this wouldn't work in a stick, in a smoke stick, unless, I mean, I have done ones where very meticulously got them under good spots under the string, and then it sort of hits some bones just in those moments. But yeah, so we've got, oh, okay, time. Oh my days. So frankincense, and let's close that up. Okay, I think I'm just going to add in all those herbs for everyone. That's pretty much all of the herbs in the presentation, I think, as well. So cooking with time, yep, it's incredible. So yes, okay, great. Let me just round that down. So we've covered the 4 different methods of yeah, creating sort of sacred smoke, sacred space, a few herbs, plant allies to use. Obviously, this isn't all of them. There are just so many, but I've tried to include sort of the more commonly used ones or more easily accessible ones, and ones that are sort of less, yeah, less in danger of anything and have less contraindications for us as well to use. So I will complete that list. Right now, what I'll do is I'm going to share with you in here the current one. So this one only has lavender and rosemary in it, but I'm going to update it and add in all the other plants, and then I'm going to add a retailers list at the end. I just need to make a list. So if everyone could pop in the chat exactly what they would like retailer suggestions are. I think we said bottles, the macro powder, and how to make the incense ingredients, the herbs. Is there anything else that anyone would like a retailer suggestion of? Amazing. Great stuff. Okay. Wonderful. Excellent. Okay, great. So I'll add all that to, yeah, the retailers list, and then I'll send over the updated book to Steph and she can share it with everyone. But yeah, so just for these last 10 minutes before we close, does anyone have any questions? Is there anything anyone would like to add? Is there anything anyone's unsure about?
Yeah, I just had a question. I just want to say thank you so much. It's so fascinating. I've been like scribbling notes the whole way through it. So I just wanted to ask you, the lemongrass herb, is it just burning lemongrass on its own, or would you pair it with something? Because you were saying it's quite a strong, potent smell. Would it just be lemongrass on its own, or would you combine?
I would combine it.
You
Yeah.
would combine it
I
with
mean,
something else.
yeah, sweetgrass and lemongrass, you can burn on their own and they are potent on their own, but
Right.
it is nice to blend them with other things in smaller capacity than to what else you're adding, because it is a very potent smell, as you said.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, so on their own, amazing. And then if using it with something else, just sort of taper down and a lot less of that and sort of more of whatever other herb you're going to use.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Because I really like the sound of that one, like connecting to a deity or a personal connection. I really loved that. I thought that sounded really special. So I just want to try that one, but wasn't sure because I've smelt it before, so I wasn't sure just to have it on its own or combined. So I'll combine it with
Combine it.
something.
Yes.
Right.
Lovely.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I think I've got myrrh in my list as well. I can also add it in there if everyone would like to know about myrrh as well. And that's another resin, also from a big, beautiful tree. And for Palo Santo, I've got the picture of the tree in there as well, so you can also see what that looks like before. Sorry, yes, Steph?
Do you have a favorite herb that you like to use for cleansing?
Mm, that is a tough one. Um, it really varies depending on the time and space. So, like, this is a rosemary one I got as a gift. But I've been holding on to it because I really do love these as well. I'm probably going to destroy it trying to get it out of here now. I've been letting it dry just a little bit longer as well. There we go. Oh. My friend didn't bundle it. She just chucked it in like that. But it's dried together really beautifully in this bag. So it's holding itself together. Um, yeah, I love, as I mentioned earlier, I love lemongrass, sweetgrass, and those and sort of citronella more as an essential oil rather than a herb. I don't know if that's from growing up in South Africa. I attract mosquitoes like crazy. They just love my blood. I can be in the room with 20 people and I'll probably be the only one walking out like riddled. So I've just constantly have those smells around me as a repellent as well. Well, I did back there. But here sometimes I find it doesn't necessarily always work in like the sort of scent and what you're feeling from the outside as well. Like, it is a very sort of sunny, sunshiny. So I have started using a lot more sort of things like lavender, which is also a great insect repellent. But yeah, in terms of most of what I burn at home, I love more sort of richer sort of like amber, saffron type scents. Um, a lot more sort of deeper, dreamy, um, rich, smoky. That's sort of my lean to. That was super fresh. But yeah, at home I'd say it's quite a mix. Like I'm just looking around and there's a lot of herb going on.
So
So,
basically, you couldn't pick one.
yeah, I can't pick one. Because sometimes I
No.
go through phases, Sometimes it's all about rose, and then everything I buy or make has to have rose in it. Or sometimes I just want something more herby. So rosemary has that then herby, like rosemary and basil together. Also just do amazing things. Like, yeah, if there is no favorite, it really, I love to just work with what's happening at the time, what's
Yeah, I was gonna say you get drawn to specific herbs or essential oils, don't you, at different times in your life. So it's good to
yeah.
work with different ones. Debbie's got a
Oh,
sign.
thank
Hi,
you,
Debbie.
Debbie. We'll make sure you get the other books sent to you.
I was gonna say I'm really excited to make incense cones because I've never done that before. I wonder,
It's really
Yeah, I wonder what is everyone looking forward to making. If you want to pop it in the chat, which one are you drawn to making or trying first? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. I saw someone making like dipping incense sticks, but never.
Yeah, so I went with the cones instead of the sticks, just for I don't know. I just find it's a little bit easier, and it's one less thing you need, because then obviously with the sticks you need to get the sticks, and whereas you can just make your little droopy cones and use them wherever you want. But obviously, if you do have access to said sticks, it's exactly the same. You would just be wrapping that uh what I'm looking for, like the liquid, um gosh, my brain is gone. The recipe for the incense cones, exactly. Yeah. Just wrap that around the stick and let it dry. But it can also just get a lot more messy, and yeah. But I mean, play, enjoy, experiment, and yeah, and especially with the non-burny ones, using water-based things. I really hope that can help some people who maybe have found blocks where, you haven't explored too much with using sort of plants to like charge the space because of the burning. And so I really hope that can also help some folks.
I'm going to say the aura spray you need to use, it doesn't obviously have to be an amber bottle like you said, but it has to be a dark colored glass, doesn't it, with essential oils.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to make sure everybody knows not use clear glass.
Yeah, so I've just written there amber, but I mean I can also just write blue or green. But I mean everyone knows, yeah. So just not clear glass, yeah. And it all goes in with the keep in a cool, dark place. Everything in a cool, dark place.
I'm going to say for drying herbs, the airing cupboard, if anyone's still got an airing cupboard, they're great.
Yeah, if it has air access, and yeah, just darkness, and yeah, at the end of the day, you want to try and keep it out of the sun as much as possible. The only time when that's really good is like making your own soda, which essentially you would just shove a bunch of whatever plant you want in a bottle with sugar and distilled water, close it, and leave it in the window for like a week or two, and boom, you got natural soda. But then you want the sunshine, because that's with the fermentation and whole other ballgame. But great stuff. So thank you everyone for listening and for being here, and for adding your questions. And oh,
that, Veronica, that's great. Just for the recording, Veronica said her husband always moans as she dries her herbs in his man cave. Oh, thank you so much, Adette. Amazing as always. And I think everyone's going to be going away and making lots of lovely things. So hopefully people will take pictures and I can
yes. Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, I'd love to
but
see it.
yeah, obviously please do share your photos of anything that you make in the coven. We'd love to see all of your lovely creations. But yes, thank you.
Great. Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Have a lovely
Yeah.